Okay. Now, yes, we are talking about the sensual desire, and there are various ways of overcoming the sensual desire. From the way of vipassana, that we directly see the nature of the sensual desire, and then also we see them in relation to other object in the sense of the hearing, then it conditioning the feelings, and then the feelings conditioning the desire, then arises thinking, and so on. We sink into that, it's conditioning. We also look into a little bit on the 32 parts of the body, the foulness of the body, and the 9 channel ground of the 9 channel ground meditation, which is very helpful in overcoming the lust or the sensual lust. Then other ways, like for example, wise reflection on our requisite, the things that we use, reflect on the karma, reflect on death, because when we do this type of reflections repeatedly over time, then it will help us to not attach to life so much. That those things which is not that important, we don't obsess with them, which is very good, because it helps to loosen our obsession, strong clinging when we have those type of reflection, moderation in food, and so on. And as I said, that the last 2 parts I've not mentioned is the appropriate speech or the right speech, and also association with the wise, or association with the people who has less sensual desire, or those who have or without sensual desire. So this one will be very helpful if if you mix with people who are very greedy, mix with people who love to cheat people out of greed, then if you mix with them, then you become like them. Then if you don't mix with them, then you don't have that conditioning arising. But if you do that, if you mix with them, then over time you will follow them. So it's good that if you sometimes when we have a certain desire or certain of the hindrances that strong in us, then we have to watch out for that hindrances, and also we watch out that of those people who we mix with. Then it will help us in the long run to reduce those type of hindrance. If it's sensual desire, then it will help us to reduce the sensual desire. Now, so tonight we will continue with the next hindrance. Continue with the next hindrance. Now here is the ill will, vyapada. Let us go into the sharing of the screen. Okay, can you all see ill will? All right. Now, when we talk about ill will, or the Pali word is vyapada or pyapada, both are acceptable, the Pali word. Now, here the hindrances of ill will, it's a total opposite of sensual desire. It's a total opposite. That means if you stand in the middle, then one defilement is on your right, then another defilement is on your left. So in the sense that when these two are so closely connected, because if don't get what you desire, you get angry. Yeah? Then if you um, uh, if you get what you have, then of course the sensual desire arises. Yeah? If you don't get it, then the anger arises, then the hatred arises, or ill will arises. So it's a both. They are two extreme. They are two extreme of each other. Then when we come to the next two hindrances on sloth and torpor and restlessness and regret, then again these two are opposite or extreme of each other again. Yeah. So this one, when we talk about the sensual desire, also we cannot escape this ill will. Yeah. So now ill will here, they come with ill will, hatred, aversion, animosity, irritation, anger, dislike, resentment. There are so many words for it. Basically, they are all the same. But the matter of whether they are soft or whether they are very strong, whether they are a minor irritation, a minor dislike, or is full-blown hatred or full-blown anger. When it comes into speech and also action, that it may harm or afflict other people. So, and also the ill will also, this one comes together with sorrow, fear, sadness. They are like cousin. They are like cousin of ill will. Because the sorrow, fear, sadness also arises due to a lot of unpleasant feelings. Due to a lot of unpleasant feeling, they arise. So ill will, hatred, aversion, all these things connected with unpleasant feelings. So it is important that we look into it as best as we can. Now, sometimes for some people, is that the sensual desire is more stronger. Then ill will is not so strong. Or the hatred or anger not so strong. Some people, again, on the opposite, the anger is very strong, and then the sensual desire not so strong. Whereas there are people, both also is strong. All the sensual desire, ill will also strong. And there are those also, sensual desire and ill will are not strong. So these are the type of people that we're going to find. Of course, when we look into Anagami or Arahant, then they are free from this sensual desire and ill will. You see, when it comes to eradication of this sensual desire and ill will, is only at the third path. They have to remove together. They are eradicated together, because again here both of them they are extreme of, they are opposite of each other. So it's good that for us to look into it a little bit more, because some of us, then we have this ill will strong, sensual desire not so strong. Now, in terms of sensual desire and ill will also, the Buddha also mentioned that, where is it? I think it's Anguttara Nikaya, that the sensual desire is more acceptable by the people, whereas the anger is not so acceptable by people. In the sense that when sensual desire, when you say that, you're talking about food, you're going looking for food, people accept it because it comes with pleasant feelings. And then, for example, if you get married, then it asks you, how many children are you planning, and so on, when you're going to get married, all these things connected with lust, but it is acceptable by the common people, by people. Whereas anger is not so acceptable, because once the anger arises, then people move away from you. People go far away from you. So if you are repeatedly having a lot of anger, people go far away from you. So it's not acceptable by the people. But whereas again, on anger and ill will, or this sensual desire and ill will, then sensual desire is difficult to overcome. Whereas anger is easier to overcome. Difficult to overcome is because of its subtleness, because it's masked, it's covered up by that pleasant feelings. The daily joy, the daily happiness, when you're eating, when you are enjoying, you're covered by that pleasant feeling, covered by that joy. Behind it is the sensual desire. So it's difficult for most people to see. But whereas anger or ill will, they spring up, then this anger is very obvious. Not only is obvious, but it is unpleasant, even to oneself also, even to oneself. And some people know that when the anger is so strong, the bodily health, mental health also is all affected in the long run. The mind and the body is not so right. Then they feel it. So in other words, it's easier to see. But it's easier to see. That means it's, in a way, it is easier to overcome, according to the Buddha. But sensual desire is not easy to see, therefore it's difficult to overcome. Now it's important, again, as I said, to understand its characteristics, function, or manifestation here, because these are like the three facets of an anger. Just like when we talk about sensual desire, or mindfulness, or effort, or wisdom, or concentration, all of them have this characteristic, function, or manifestation. But these are just names. These are all names. But what is important is that while we are meditating, or while we are in everyday life, we can recognize them when they arise in the mind. When they arise in the mind, and then you can able to identify them correctly. And that is most important. All these names are to help you to recognize them. Some people, they can talk about this characteristic manifest function of anger and so on, or ill will. Then they can remember these things, but when they're actually angry, in the real situation, when they're angry, they can't even see their anger is there. So the knowledge, the book knowledge, and the real life cannot connect together. So hopefully we're not in that situation. Hopefully we want you to understand the words, and also able to see it as they really are when they arises. Therefore, the meditation, especially in the Vipassana, will be very helpful, because we see them as they are whenever they arise. So this hindrance, they will arise. They will arise one time or another. Let's see, look into the ill will or anger. Here, it is mentioned that the characteristic is ferocity or savageness. That means it's a fierce or something like that, Like a cobra raises its head and hood when provoked. Have you seen a real life cobra? Yeah. Well, I was staying one time in Batu Ferringhi in one place. Then one day the dog was barking. One afternoon the dog was barking quite long. So I come out and check. Oh, then the cobra was raised up its head. So it's quite far away. I was not afraid of it. Well, I mean, I don't go near it, but you can see that it really wants to bite or very fierce. So this is something like a cobra raises its head. So too when we are provoked, and then when your anger arises, you see suddenly your fire inside you come up like a cobra like that, like a snake like that. So too all of us when it's strong, we can see it very clearly. Yeah. Now, function here is to spread, like a drop of poison into a water, and then it spread everywhere, or to burn up its support. That is to burn up the mind and body in which it arises. That means the anger itself, it burns the mind, it burns the body too. Or like a forest fire, it burns up the tree and the animals. Finally, when it burns all the tree and everything that it can burn, then also it disappears. So this is what it means here. Manifestation, it means that it's trying to persecute or affliction. Like when the enemy got a chance to do something onto you, when they got a chance, then he wants to give harm to you, wants to afflict you. So too here, when the anger arises, it afflict either somebody else or it afflict to oneself also. It cause harm mentally or physically to oneself, or causing harm of mentally to others. Whether it's by speech or by action or by thoughts. So here it comes up in this way. Because I do not see even one thing because I do not see even one other thing on account in which a reason ill will arises and a reason ill will increases and expands so much as the mark of repulsive. For those who attend carelessly to the mark of repulsive, unreason ill will arises, and a reason ill will a reason ill will increases and expand. Now here again we took from the same sutta in Anguttara Nikaya, first book of the one. So it's again, you see, this one is completely the opposite of the Monday that I showed to you. We showed to you the mark of something which is beautiful, Subha Nimitta. And now is the repulsive, the sign of repulsiveness. Patigga Nimitta, it denotes a disagreeable mark or sign, a designation for aversion and a repulsive object. Cause for annoyance or something disagreeable to you. Now we're going to look into the cause, but first of all, let us look into this characteristic function manifestation. Now, the thing is that when you want to recognize anger, especially when we are in the meditation, then the nature of the anger, it comes up in various forms. In various forms, in the sense that all your senses can connect it with a little bit of dislike, or kind of like a very strong anger or strong ill will. Now, sometimes when you are meditating, the heat coming in, as you're meditating, the heat is getting a bit more slightly unbearable, and then it's getting more stronger, and then you start sweating. At that time, you see that the mind begin to dislike, initially begin to dislike. Now, it's good that while we are meditating, we take note of that dislike, if we can, kind of like a slight aversion is coming up. So it's good that we recognize those things. If we don't recognize it, then our mind will start going into a lot of thinking about, after that the mind start planning, maybe I should dana one air conditioning here. Maybe I should next time go up to Genting Highlands to meditate. I shouldn't meditate here. And I start thinking all kinds of things rather than meditating at that moment of time. So when it comes in, you got to see its characteristic. You got to see its the aversion behind it. So how is the aversion is like at that moment of time? How is it like? You find that the mind is very disagreeable at this moment of time. Bosong, mentally very unsettled during this time also. So you don't see it as a ferocity of savageness yet now, because it hasn't come into full blown. So when it comes into full blown, for example, when you are meditating, then somebody keep on talking, behind there, and then keep on talking. Oh, that one, it makes you inside boiling up. Sometimes we get it so difficult to able to sit down to meditate. Now sometimes the sound, like outside sound, background noises and so on, if it's not caused by somebody talking on, then we are quite okay. But when somebody is talking, and then you can understand what they are talking about now, then your mind is like you're hearing it, and it's coming into you very fast, your mind processing it, and then it says that, oh, this is very disturbing and so on. Then sometimes so strong inside us. So that time you have to look into the characteristic of the anger. How is the anger is like? You're not anger, and see how it burns inside. How it's boiling inside, and see how the mind wants to do something. Wants to do this, want to this thing. I got to tell them off. You all got no respect for people and all that thing, and then the mind is persecuting already this time, afflicting, something like that, mentally. This time is mentally, so, or sometimes people want, because of their anger arises, they're already forming words inside there. What should I tell them? They shouldn't be disturbing. All these yogis are meditating right now. You're not mindful and whatever. That is all what we call it manifests in different ways. Persecuting, afflicting, spreading. Now, what is important that again, when it comes to these hindrances, is to make sure that finally we bring it down to lessen it and also make it zero, so that our meditation can able to go forward. This is important, but again, we have to do it in the right way. We cannot simply just suppress them. You see, when the sensual desire arises and ill will arises, both of them also come together with restless mind. Because restless mind, uddhacca, a restless mind, is a universal defilement. That means universal in the sense that whenever any form of defilement arises, there will be restless mind, even when you have sloth and torpor also. But it's in a very minor form. Anyway, when you are having sensual desire, or when you are this ill will, your mind is really unsettled, and sometimes, and a lot of time, the thinking, wrong thinking coming out together with the sensual desire and ill will. So it is good for us to take note of that, because when we want to overcome them, then it all depends on which one is more prominent. uh, Now, here again, when we comes into meditation, especially in the Vipassana. Again, this one is taken from the Satipatthana Sutta under the Dhammanupassana. Last week, no, not last week, I think last week and also on Monday, we were looking into sensual desire. You change the ill will to sensual desire, then it's for the previous talk, Now is change it into ill will, and then it becomes the present talk. So again here, you see, when the ill will arises, when anger arises, you have to know it is there. You have to note it when it's prominent. When you do not have the ill will, then you also know that there is no anger in me right now. Then again here, the next three is the seeing into its conditioning. He knows that, or he understands that how the unreasoned ill will comes to be. That means how this ill will arises, and what are the conditioning also to abandon the ill will, and also what are the condition in the future that this ill will doesn't arise, non-arising of the ill will. So when we go through the Dhamma talk on the ill will, on hindrances, we will go through this thing, because finally your meditation will be involved in these things. All right. Now, what else? Here again, the mark of repulsive, or here other words, the ground for annoyance or something disagreeable to you. Now here the mark of repulsive also in a sense that you have wrong consideration or wrong reflection instead of wise reflection on something that is disagreeable to you, or something that you find it repulsive to you. Just like when we talk about sensual desire, when you see something nice, immediately the mind attach. Now here on the opposite side, when you see something not beautiful, not nice, then immediately the mind having that resentment, having the ill will or hatred or anger. So it is important for us to take note of it, so that we can change the mind from unwholesome to become wholesome, from to see that it is wrongly considering into wise consideration. That is important, and that is something very difficult. It's not easy. Try to see the goodness in your enemy and see. Somebody you don't like one, somebody cheated you one, try to see something good in him and see whether can or not. Because that person is something very repulsive to you. It's very disagreeable to you. But then, this is how we train the mind, changing the whole state of mind into non-anger. That is difficult. And we'll see what we can do with it. Short while. Now, again here, the same thing like last week. Oh, no, not last week. Same thing like on Monday, and also last week we talked about it. Yeah. Then when we want to overcome a hindrance, is always going through the same process. This same process we will repeat it for all the hindrances. Again, you must have some degree of mindfulness. Again, some degree of mindfulness means that your mindfulness is not strong, very weak, but you somehow or another, you already recognize that anger arises already. This is particularly important whenever you are having during the meditation. As I said, when you have a continuity of your meditation, then in one of the sitting, then anger arises. Because of that anger arises, and because of your past meditation, then the habit of mindfulness, it will start to slot in between the anger here and there. That is where you begin to recognize that the anger or the ill will or the sadness or the fear or the dislike is already arising. Is already arising at this time. So it's good that we recognize them. When you are able to recognize them, then you label it as anger, or ill will, sadness, and or fear coming in already. And again, here is also about acceptance. Because this time you will see things are sometimes very disagreeable to you. Perhaps while you are meditating, mental images arises, like for example, very terrible images, and you interpret them as ghosts. You interpret them as spirits as going through around you. You interpret them as, whatever whatever kind of like, whatever you can think of. Then for many people, they do not want to see those things. How could I see all these things, terrible things coming up? How could all these things arising in me? Then they want to suppress the images. Then when they do that, they are not accepting it. They already trying to cover them, to suppress those things. And this is not the way of vipassana. Not the way of vipassana. So the way of vipassana is to see them as they really are. And the first off is to accept it. Don't push it away. Don't attach to it, or don't this too. That means there's mindfulness in it. You are able to put a boundary around it. Then you know that is a kind of terrible images arises. Your enemy faces arises. A situation in the past that you went through, terrible situation in the past that you go through, it arises, or some people do harm to you, or some people died. Those your loved one died, and then it all comes up, and then all this sadness arises. And then we'll have to see them as they are. We have to learn to accept them. And this is very painful, not easy, because you have to sort of like relive the whole situation again. But the nature of vipassana, especially in the beginning part, it impact upon you very strongly, because those things you have not seen them. I mean, you normally in the everyday life you do not want to see them, but during in the meditation you cannot run away. You got nothing else to do during in the meditation, and this state of mind become very obvious, very strong. You get up into the walking, you want to do something else. Also, that thought is still there. The next sitting, the next walking you want to do, that terrible thought is still there. If you do not know how to handle them, you overcome them very fast. You already get, you have lack of faith into the meditation already, because it keep on impacting you. Then you pack up your bags, bye bye. You will go out. You'll go back yourself. This one. But the thing is that, but sometimes is that there are some, not many but once in a while there are yogis who are so bombarded with this anger, with these terrible thoughts that they do not know how to handle, and they kind of like going almost crazy. Then that time we have to ask them to stop meditation already. Stop meditation and go back and then do something good, wholesome first. Then only come back meditate. If not, this is a big problem for some people. For some people, so sad to say, anger, the ill will, the sadness, the fear, all come in that way. So the acceptance is not strong. So therefore, you have to learn to accept them as they are. You see your enemy's face, you have to accept it. You are cheated by him or by her, you also have to accept it. I mean, right now, that time accepted, that means those days in the past, you cannot do anything already. But this time, you got to just face to face to it, without trying to cover it up or anything. So, this is difficult. So, if you can able to accept them, you have to go through it. You have to be very patient this time. In the beginning part, you've got to be very patient and accepting it. Now, then when you accept them, then we overcome them. We will, as best as we can, we try to overcome them. Again, when you try to overcome them, there is the way of vipassana and the way of samatha and other skillful ways. You see, there's a lot. That's a lot. You got some more, so many things more later part. A lot of things. So again, here you have the direct way or the indirect way. The direct way, you have two ways. Again, you have to divide it in two ways. Whether you do it by Cittanupassana or do it by Dhammanupassana. Let's see how we can deal with this anger, ill will, or aversion. Take a simple example first. Don't go through the mind. Learn to deal with the body. And this one is good because in the beginning of the practice, one of the most difficult thing that you have to face is the bodily pain. It's the bodily pain for a lot of people. Not to talk about the mental pain yet, the mental pain and so on. We put that aside first. But the physical pain, that is difficult to overcome. But the problem with yogis now is like always they catch the wrong end of the snake. You're supposed to catch the head, you're going to catch the tail. So the head will come and bite you. So most of the time, also the same situation, that when we are meditating, we catch the wrong end of the pain. We want to suppress the pain instead of suppressing the anger or overcoming the anger. We want to suppress the pain. A lot of times we want to do that. This is one of the most difficult situation for at least for a beginner. Now, here, you see, when you're meditating, especially when you're sitting, when you're sitting down, and then after that, after a while, pain arises. Let's say this time at the knee pain. Take a simple example, the knee pain. Then the knee pain arises. Then if you are not taught how to meditate, then very fast you want to shift the pain away. You want to shift the leg. Therefore, in order to reduce the pain. Then after that, when you have a back pain after you're sitting for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or back pain after you want to shift it a little bit, just to get rid of the pain. Then after that, your buttock pain, then a little bit coming in already. Then you open up your eyes. Then you look for where's the cushion right now. Then you slip a buttock underneath the cushion underneath the butt underneath. Then you free yourself from the pain. Now, if a yogi is not taught now, a meditator is not taught, or you just ask anybody who do not know how to meditate, you ask them to sit down there just for half an hour. They cannot sit half an hour because they will go through all kinds of pain. And when the pain comes in, they will keep on shifting here and there. This is how when you are not taught, when all the yogis, when they are not taught. So, when you are not taught, then you will do in this way. Right? Now, when you are taught to meditate, then we say that, when the knee pain arises, then a yogi should notice pain. At the same time, you should notice what type of pain that you are going through. Usually we ask the yogis, don't try to identify too much about whether it's the knee or buttock or whether it's the ankle or it's the back or the head. Of course, those are not the most important one. As I said that, okay, you take note of the pain, then you should more like describe the pain. What sort of pain is that? Is it a hard pain? Is it a soft pain? Is it a pulling pain? Is it a burning pain? Is it a twisting pain? Is it a sawing pain? Burning pain? What else of pain you have? Sometimes there's so many vocabulary about the pain. So many description about the pain, which is good if a yogi can notice. That means the attention is on the pain and is watching the pain. That time when you are able to watch the pain, seeing its characteristic in the sense of the nature of the pain, and sometimes you see the pain arises, then it getting stronger, then it disappear a little bit. Sometimes it changed to another type of pain. Now from a pulling pain, now it changed into a burning pain. Then you see a different characteristic of pain, and that is very good, wonderful. You are doing the right way. You are noticing it correctly. That is where your mindfulness is coming in. But in the beginning part, we cannot last long with the pain. Perhaps maybe we can last about 1 or 2 minutes. It's very good because now, instead of getting angry with the pain, now the mind able to take notice of the pain, which is good. At least it's begin to start to notice the pain more and more. So the pain here, it's what we call the cause, ground for annoyance, a ground for dissatisfaction. So this is what it means. The pain is like a cause right now. Now, so a yogi should pay attention to it. But of course, you know that you cannot able to sustain long. But the more that you do into this meditation, you find that the mind can able to sustain longer and longer with the pain, right? Which is good, because those in the beginning part, we know that we can only sit for 15 minutes. We cannot sit more than that. Very painful already. But over time, you practice and practice, you can see that you can sit for half an hour, 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Finally, you can able to reach 1 hour. Then you can able to sustain on the 1 hour. You may sometimes be able to go a little bit more, 1 hour, 2 hours. All depends on the development of your development. But in between, while we are noting these unpleasant feelings of the body, in between, there is anger coming in. And that is good time for us to take note of those anger or the aversion when the pain arises. It's not easy to ask a yogi in the beginning to note the anger. it's not easy. We ask them to note the pain first, but anger maybe later on, because the anger is subtle. I mean, it's lower compared to the pain, the unpleasant feelings. But when you are more skillful, that means when you are able to notice when you can able to sit longer, you can able to note the pain for a longer, but you know that in between there's a dislike coming in. So during this time is where you begin to switch your mind from noting the pain in noting the anger or aversion that arises that's connected with the pain. So this time, when the pain arises, let's say this time is the knee again. The knee is a pulling pain, pulling. It's getting stronger, and then you find that your mind starts to become slightly unsettled already. Should I straighten it up a bit or not? Yeah. Then you ask yourself, that the little sound, the little voice that's coming in already. Maybe I should straighten up a little bit, or maybe my blood vessel is currently got poked there. Maybe shift it a little bit. If the blood can flow, then no pain already. And that type of mind, it shows that the aversion arises. So you recognize that you begin to recognize that those type of thoughts that arises. So this type of thought, it kind of like trying to trick you into moving. It's trying to trick you. If you are not mindful, very fast you move your leg already. You must move the buttock already. So you take note of that mind. You take note of that mind. You pay attention to that mind, that thinking mind, that thoughts. You pay attention to it, and then you know, thinking arises. Then you know that indirectly or directly, you know that a slight aversion arises already. Then this time you know aversion, dislike. Then that is where you begin to catch them. So you catch by its you catch in this way. When you catch them, you over time you become very familiar. Because the nature of when aversion arises, especially when it's connected to a sitting meditation, it's connected with all these little thoughts that arises. You kind of like try to sneak into your meditation, and if you're not careful, it goes into more and more thoughts already. So if you're careful, because of your repeated practice in the past, then you take note of it. Then when you take note of it, you note the anger, you note the aversion. And sometimes you're able to notice that the aversion is getting stronger and stronger. And then you begin to feel that your body is burning up. Body also become very heaty, very heaty, very, very tense. Sometimes not only the leg tense, but the other parts of the body also starts to tighten, pressure. That is how you begin to notice the pain arises, the anger, the dislike. The dislike gives rise to further like other body tension or here and there. It's all connected. And you take note of it. It will be very good. Then, if you're able to notice this anger, or dislike, aversion, this bosong, whatever language you want to use doesn't matter. As long as you take note of that anger, you pay attention to it, and you see how it's growing. You see how it's diminishing. Sometimes when you see how it diminish, slowly it getting less and less. Sometimes it disappear. It disappears, and then you find that you can able to sit a bit more longer, and your mind is not affected with it. Then it's good because that time you can differentiate your mind. Before that, there was an anger, there was aversion there, and after that, there was no aversion. You find that, now I can able to notice the pain without the anger. That is wonderful. That is satisfactory in the sense that now when you can able to notice these things. Now, then you take note of it. In the beginning part, in the practice, it is challenging. I know it is challenging. I cannot say that it is not challenging. I cannot say that it is easy. The nature of this pain becomes stronger over time, as especially in the beginning of your practice. It really becomes stronger, especially first insight, second insight, third insight. And these are at the beginning of your practice. And the pain is really getting stronger and stronger, sometimes very unbearable. No, the nature of this pain, it is because of your mindfulness is getting stronger. If your mindfulness is not strong, your pain also will be strong, but you cannot manage them. But when your mindfulness develops, your pain is strong, and then at the same time you can able to the mind can sustain with it and look into it also. It can able to scrutinize the pain also. You see, the nature of mindfulness is one of its function or manifestation. One of its characteristic is to go face to face with the object. So too when the pain is there, mindfulness goes through onto it. It manifests the pain like 100 times for you to see. When you're meditating at home, how come I can sit so long at home Bante? I can sit 2 hours, I don't feel any much pain. But then when I come to retreat, I sit half an hour, I be tahan already, Bante. Why? Because a lot of times when you're meditating at home, the mindfulness is not continuous or the mindfulness is not strong. When you are in retreat, especially when you are meditating the whole day in, day out, that is where your pain gets very strong. And sometimes yogis also could see in the morning time they are not so painful yet because mindfulness is not so strong, but when they meditating in the morning, afternoon, when it comes into the afternoon, later part of the afternoon, evening, the pain is getting very strong, very, very challenging at this time because of the mindfulness is building up throughout the day. Then the next day again, okay, not so much pain. So yogis could see that too. It builds up because of the nature of the mindfulness. So that means, other words, sometimes yogis think that, wow, Bante say like that, more pain, the more progress I have. Not really that also, not really that also, because there are people, there are yogis, once in a while, we see that they don't have much pain, but they still progress. They don't have much pain, but they can still progress. So for a lot of us, we find that there's a lot of pain. Now, when a yogi cannot manage the pain well, that means cannot be mindful properly with the pain, then this fear arises, then this anger arises, and it's repeated over time. You will lose confidence on this practice. Then after that, you thought that you want to still do proper vipassana, but then you go and look for something which is easy, something which is a bit more pleasant, No need to see the pain so much. If the pain come in, just like hello, how are you? Just sit there, kwai. As you sit there, no need to then don't have to look at the pain. Let it be. Like that, if you do like that type of meditation, your mindfulness will not be strong. You cannot see the true nature of the pain. Even then also, when you cannot see the true nature of the pain, in other words, also you will not able to see the true nature of the anger or the ill will. So if you want to progress, no matter what meditation that you want to go through, what form, what technique of meditation, what technique of vipassana you want to go through, you got to face with all kinds of objects. Clearly, penetratively, continuously. And when it's continuous, penetrative, your pain is expanded. That is part of the whole development of vipassana. So you cannot run away from it. So therefore, when you are experiencing this pain, and the pain is strong right now, then you take note of that aversion. Take note of dislike. Dislike, 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 dislike. At one time, this I was taught by Sayadaw Punika, the late Sayadaw Punika. At one time I was going through all the pain. I come into the report to him. I said, "Oh, very painful. Here pain, there pain, everywhere pain." Sayadaw. Then say, "Do you know your aversion?" Then I didn't know it, of course. Then the moment he hear that, then immediately I recognize my problem already. Next sitting, I go in and then start to note the aversion. So this is how you are supposed to pay attention to them. To pay attention when the aversion comes in. It's not about how long you can sustain the pain also. It's also a matter of whether you can watch the anger, watch the desire sometimes to move the body, the anger because you dislike the pain, then immediately together with the anger, then the desire, you want to do this, you want to shift your body, you want to shift that little desire that's coming in. So both of them coming in together. So you take note of those things, and it's good that you take note of those things, because in the long run, this type of anger become less and less because you can catch them very fast. Once you catch them very fast, it become less. And become less the next time, the moment you see it, very fast that anger disappear, you can still continue with the pain or noting whatever unpleasant feelings that you go through. Whether it's a mosquito bite, whether this heat and so on, your mind is much more adaptable. And that is very good. You can help you to go through a long run, not just only a short run, 1 or 2 retreat. Retreat after retreat, you don't have much fear. Now, also on the mental pain also. If physical pain, if let's say your buttock pain, betahan, really cannot already. You just get up and just joy, so, okay already lah, No, if you really cannot take it anymore, you just get up, and then if your knee pain, you just stretch out. If you cannot take it anymore, then of course you stretch out a little bit. But we don't encourage you to ask you to do that. We ask you to manage it as long as you can. But for mental pain, for mental memories that is terrible to you, that one you cannot shake it off. Cannot like you just get up and then it just go away. Sometimes for some people it's not so easy because it's a very strong memory, perhaps, and it's bring a lot of sadness and a lot of anger to you every time that type of it comes up. So what a yogi should do at this time, again, same thing also. When it arises, this type of images inside you, images, you note it, seeing. You will see yourself there. You will see that you are inside the story. You see yourself, or you see your parents, or you see your loved one, whether it's a death situation, whether it's something fearful, you are seeing it. But this time you must learn to come out from it. You must take that thought as just thought only. If you go into it, the self, the whole idea of self is connected into it, then that time it's impossible for you to overcome it by way of vipassana. By way of vipassana is that you have to stand out and still observe the thought. That means you still allow the thought to happening at that present, not trying to suppress it and not trying to get rid of it and not trying to attach to it. Again, here you begin to see the thought as it is. Yeah. Now, when you see that thought, then you say memory, 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 memory. And at the same time, when you see the pain inside the mind, inside the heart, or the anger inside there, then you must know anger, 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 anger. And then you see the anger is burning the whole mind up. The whole body also is burning up. So you take note of it. In the beginning, as I said, you want to face the anger, you want to face this one is difficult. But the way of Vipassana is to see them as they are. Sometimes people thought that see them, see them as they are, see them as they are. Quite easy for them to quote this verse, But actually, when it comes to Vipassana, see them as they are is not as easy as you think it is. Especially when things is terrible to you. When things are really terrible to you, it's not as easy as you think it is. Easy to quote, but facing it is not easy. So you got to note that anger that arises, or the sadness that arises, or even the tears that comes out together with it. So you got to note sadness, 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 tearing. Even sometimes not only tears come out, sometimes the from the nose also it come out. Then sometimes you go and drip into your mouth also. Then you have to taste it also. Then you're tasting. You're not supposed to move. You have to see things as they really are. Then here is exactly that you are supposed to do. When you notice the images, you notice the thoughts, you notice the memory, it gives you a lot of unpleasant feelings, and the unpleasant feelings give rise to tearing. Tearing gives rise to tasting. All these things, when you see them one by one, how this thing, one condition after another, one condition another, then you see again the non-self aspect of the, of the anger. All these things are conditioning only. So sometimes when we note this anger, sometimes, for example, when you are sitting down and then you hear people talking, and then you note anger, talking, hearing, anger, hatred coming. Then after that, when they stop talking, let's say they walk away, then you notice that the anger begin to subside, because after you notice it begin to subside. When it subsides, but the body, although the mind, the mental anger already subsided, but the body feelings of unpleasant feelings still there now. Because earlier on, when the anger arises, then you are noting the anger, then your body also is also affected, not just only the mind affected, but the body also affected. That means the body begins to tense up, to tighten up, and so on. Then, but because you're not noticing the body, you're noticing the anger, then you note that. Then you note anger, fine, no problem. You're doing right. But and the anger subsides. Now, when the anger subsides, now the bodily feelings become very obvious right now. The unpleasant feeling become very obvious. So the unpleasant feeling become very obvious. You got to watch that unpleasant feelings, because this time if you don't watch that unpleasant feelings, then that unpleasant feelings will begin the next anger. Then after that, it be start thinking again about the person again, about they should not talking and all that thing, But now that the anger, the dislike is coming out from the unpleasantness of the body. Sometimes it's not only at the body area, sometimes at the shoulder or neck, or sometimes at the head, it pulling tension and so on. And although the earlier anger it disappeared, but the tension is still there. So you got to watch those tension and unpleasantness of the body. All these things are related. So the anger, although you subside one anger, another dislike can start to pop up. So to take note those things whenever you are doing your own meditation. So the one that mental feelings one, the mental unpleasant feelings, the mental pain one, this one is really you have to go through it. In the beginning, as I said, when you face those things, it's very painful. But you apply that mindfulness, you will fail. But you rise up again, not again, not. You feel the anger or the sadness or the fear will overwhelm you a while. Then you put in the effort again, try to not. In the beginning, it's a struggle. But in the long run, it is very beneficial to you. Because next time, that thought, that death, or that memory, that fear, that spirit, that ghost that comes in, then when you watch it, there's not much fear, that not much of sadness you're going through. You don't have to go through all those sadness. You don't have to go through all the anger. That because you just see them as just a phenomenon only right now. That the mind has changed from how to respond or react with anger. Right now, it it changes over time. Whenever this type of thoughts arises, it responds with mindfulness. It responds with compassion. It responds with metta. So you see, you don't change the images. You change your heart. You change your mind. So do the same thing when you're meditating on the pain in the buttock or in the knee. You don't change the pain. You change the anger from anger to without anger. From the mind one, you don't change the thought because these are memory. Then from you don't change it, you put mindfulness into it, then it becomes mindful, it become metta, it become compassion, and so on. It become a wholesome mental state. That's how you're free, at least, free from that suffering. At least the bodily, if the bodily suffer, but the mentally doesn't suffer. So this is important for us to take note. So we stop here for tonight. We're going to continue this talk on the Monday or maybe a bit on Wednesday next week also. So on Friday we will we have a Q&A session, and again, if you have any questions, then you can maybe post up in the chat. I think they already post up the phone number already. Okay. All right. Now let us share merits.